Hello YouTube. During a recent debate, I was arguing that religious belief is based mainly on geography, and then, in the middle of my sentence, it hit me just what Muslims need to live with and what it is they have to believe to live their life within their religion. That there is an invisible God that has never shown himself to anyone is a given, yet he monitors the actions and thoughts of humans 24/7. But then this is standard with all religions. But what else do believers have to believe and put up with when they are told that a particular God is real? If I disregard all religions based on spirits and ancestors and concentrate only on the three Abrahamic religions, I find that this faith requires a huge amount of mental acrobatics without any means of testing, checking, or measuring. Which is why the books these religions are based on preclude these tests and checks and appeal only to emotions and acceptance in the form of faith. Jews have a hard time making a real case for their creation story, which is found a good 1,000 years before the conception of their book attributed to Moses, the Torah, in Sumerian and Babylonian myths, fables, and legends. And anyone who takes the time to look into some texts based on terms such as Gilgamesh or Enkidu will easily find them. The Jewish version of a god is a cruel and demanding god, as he kills off millions at will and goes so far as to wipe out entire cities and then all life on this planet. He saves or spares only the best of the best, who then go off and get drunk or impregnate their daughters. Others get to go to heaven without any suffering or even dying, as they can go and lie on top of a boy 3 times and are whisked off to the top floor of eternal bliss. A man can survive in the stomach of a fish, and when a woman is turned into a statue, the first thing a Jew has to do is lick it to find out whether it is made of salt. Jews seem to require several repetitions before understanding something, so the Bible inspired by their God is entire books in duplicate, such as Isaiah 37 and 2 Kings 19, or clear instructions are repeated within minutes, such as in Leviticus 11:8, all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, and all that moves in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. And then just a couple of sentences later in 11:12, whatsoever hath no fins or scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. Okay, we get the point. No shrimps for anyone following these instructions. Leviticus also provides useful information for insects, as they are flying, creeping thing that goeth upon all four. I'd love to hear an example of any creature that fulfills these conditions. Looking for solutions, I came across the result of real research from the Institute of Creation Research, which said that the grasshopper has 4 legs and can fly. The rear legs are only for jumping and are not legs. You see, it is so easy. A Jewish believer needs to be willing to kill his own children for his God and is given ridiculous rituals to follow. All this, just in case one day a judge will be sent to this planet and once again select the best of the best, who can then go and party. Christians have to believe all of the above and then some. Because some people got tired of waiting for their judge, they invented one. Several people got the job of writing some nice stories about this person or god or man-god, but they got different instructions and milestones, so they have little in common, even if they're writing about the same character whom they decided to call Jesus. Because by definition he had the title Anointed One or Christos, a title he shares with Attis, Adonis, Tammuz, Osiris and others, he became Jesus Christ, and the followers eloquently called themselves Christians. Well, Jesus of Nazareth would be misleading, as Nazareth did not exist at the time and Jesus of Bethlehem was probably taken, so they stuck with Jesus Christ. Jesus was attributed with introducing eternal torture in a place he called hell, derived from Gehenna, a place in ancient Jerusalem. He was also given magical powers, probably because half his DNA was not human but, well, something else. Even today, Christians can't agree whether Jesus was a god, a man, or even bi. They also can't agree whether he went to heaven spiritually or physically. And they can't even agree whether he physically existed at all. The character of Jesus condones all deeds of the Old Testament, although he can't properly remember the commandments his dad or their God put up. No wonder, as they are mentioned several times, and are actually 613, not 10. Go figure. So Christians can keep slaves, can stone to death their disobedient children or adulterous wives, but no shrimps. Jesus lies, steals, and even behaves like a misogynistic chauvinist. Yet he is tortured for the sin of Eve, who ate some fruit she was never personally told was forbidden. They were all adequately punished, as a man could no longer work in an office, but had to work the ground. A woman had to bear pain during childbirth, and the snake's legs fell off and had to crawl on the ground from there on. Why killing a son and torturing someone innocent and not involved, why this should make it all better for a God is beyond me. But that is what Christians need to believe. Then you have the human invention of a ghost. The ghost is given spiritual powers and is given the title holy. Shortly after this, to stop the bickering and fighting about this version of a god, a son and a ghost, a council of humans, well, men to be exact, sat down and decided on the future fate of this trio, and all other versions were banished. Humans like doing it that way. Christians accept that Jesus was killed and then, as was prophesied in the Old Testament, was resurrected, or did it himself, after 3 days and 3 nights. Well, as we know, gods are not so good with basic arithmetic and are better at calculating fine-tuned orbits of solar systems, so the timestamps are a tad off. No, I take that back. Gods creating universes are good at creating galaxies that crash into one another and black holes, not perfect orbits. Anyway, Jesus follows the prophecies made in the Old Testament, and Emmanuel will be beaten and crushed. So Jesus is crucified and the prophecy is fulfilled. Bingo. But Christians are creative too. They go and look for some words and retrofit them to proceedings, such as the "they pierced my hands and feet" in Psalm 22:16, and presto, this must refer to Jesus, and another prophecy and miracle is fulfilled. Humans like doing it that way. What Christians also have to believe is that Jesus came back to life and was found by a varying number of people, standing or sitting in different places while the sun was up and it was still dark. Makes perfect sense. Why can't I get myself to believe any of this? Finally, Muslims have to believe all of the above, and then all of the above that, and then some. They have to believe that the crucifixion of the central figure in Christianity, Jesus, was just a trick by their version of a god, or the same God, or whatever. Some Muslims contest that their God can't be seen, as they cite the night journey, the Hijra, where Muhammad is supposedly to have gone up to Allah to haggle over the number of daily prayers, like on a bazaar. But the majority accept this purely as a vision, because there are too many inconsistencies in this story to be reality. I have not found any clear account of whether any of the other prophets actually met Allah. Also, the Quran clearly says in 6:103, no vision can grasp him, and in 42:51, not fitting for a man that Allah should speak to him except by inspiration. So you just get to pick and choose. But Muslims clearly need to accept that there are talking ants that a human can hear, that Allah, the Muslim God, is personally responsible for thunder and lightning, and that he created invisible barriers between salt and sweet water and the oceans, and invisible pillars that support the sky. Well, as you can hear in the background, he must be very angry at the moment. Muslims also need to believe what their book, not inspired by a god, but actually written word for word by a god, says about how their God created the universe as described by the Sumerians, and life by creating Adam from some dust he found in heaven. Allah then creates all following humans individually from dust and then a drop of blood, even though all humans descend from Adam and Eve. The Quran has amazing creatures, as there is a flying horse creature, and we have every living creature created from water and either moving upon its belly or on 2 or 4 legs. It looks as though Allah forgot about the 6, 8 and multi-legged creatures he had created. As is the case in the previous Bibles, the Quran also has the ever-present dead piece of wood which can become a snake. And if they're not careful, humans can be changed into apes. And if some people are confused about how many types of base material a human can have according to the Quran, there is an additional one, as jinns are creatures made from fire or light and really exist. The Quran does not condemn women to pain, but declares a woman's menstruation an illness. The scientific understanding in general is extremely limited, as evolution is the work of another invisible and invented creature, the devil, who is also the source of wine, which he must have somehow implemented rivers of in heaven. Or maybe wine is okay and actually the gift from Allah. You get to choose, as the Quran has 3 versions on this. But the Quran also describes their God as being generally a generous God, as Allah grants individual passes for space flights. Nice. But he does have a hate-love relationship with male foreskins. As we see with all religions, the Quran was conceived, created and written by humans who in this case formed a committee and decided on the final contents and burned most other versions. Humans like doing it that way. Finally, the Quran expects Muslims to believe that they are constantly in danger of going to the Muslim hell, which seems to be even worse than the Christian one and is constantly mentioned as a threat to believers of this religion. Muslims also have to follow more rituals than Jews and Christians combined, as even the basic ritual of praying is laid down in great detail and needs to be followed to ensure a successful transition to the Islamic afterlife, which in all aspects resembles what an Arab Bedouin in the desert would imagine a heaven would be like. After writing and reading all of this, which represents just a very short excerpt from the originals, am I glad I don't have to believe in any of the superstitions laid out in these 3 books? I can eat what I want when I want. I can wear what I want when I want. I can do what I want when I want, without regrets and having to worry about the threats of some grand judgment and subsequent punishment should I not adhere to some superstitious rituals. In conclusion, I just feel sorry for believers and their families, as well as for the wasted time, effort and money. I see nothing beneficial that a believer can do that I can't, or why any believer should feel morally superior in any way. But if you believe that some obscure old book is more right than rational reasoning and critical thinking, go ahead. It is your choice, and you will not regret it when you die, as neither will I. Thank you for your time.